Picture this. A hot summer day in 1518, the streets of Strasbourg, France, are bustling as usual. Suddenly, a woman named Frau Trophia steps out into the middle of a cobblestone street and begins to dance. But this isn't a dance of joy. There's no music, no celebration. Her body jerks and twists violently, her limbs flailing uncontrollably. Her face is a mask of terror, her eyes wide, her teeth clenched. She dances as if she's a puppet pulled by invisible strings, fighting against a force no one else can see. At first, people just stared, confused. Maybe she was ill, maybe she'd had too much to drink. But hours turned into a full day, and then two. Frau Trophia didn't stop. She danced until her feet were raw and bleeding, until she was on the verge of collapsing from sheer exhaustion. Concerned citizens tried to restrain her, to hold her still, but she thrashed against them with a strength that seemed almost supernatural. And then, the real horror began. Within a single week, she wasn't alone anymore. 34 other people had joined her in this bizarre, agonizing dance. They hadn't chosen to. It was as if a sickness had jumped from her to them, a contagion of movement. Witnesses from that time described the scene in chilling detail. The dancers moved like broken dolls, their arms snapping, their legs shaking, their heads thrown back as if they were staring at something horrifying in the sky above them. The town was in a panic. No one could explain what was happening. The local physicians were called in, and their diagnosis was, to put it mildly, unhelpful. They called it hot blood, a condition caused by an overheated brain. And their prescribed cure, it was just as bizarre as the disease itself: more dancing. They believed the afflicted needed to dance the fever out of their systems. So, the town authorities cleared a space, they built a large wooden stage in the market square, and even hired musicians and professional dancers to keep the energy up. You can probably guess what happened next. The well-intentioned cure only fueled the nightmare. The constant music and motion seemed to draw more people in, like moths to a deadly flame. By the end of the month, the number of dancers had swelled to over 400. The streets of Strasbourg were a scene of chaos. People were dancing themselves into a frenzy. Some collapsed from heart attacks and strokes. Others suffered broken ribs and shattered bones from the violent, unending movements. Even when they fainted from exhaustion, their bodies would continue to twitch and jerk on the ground, as if being shocked by an unseen power. As the days turned into weeks, the plague took on a more sinister, supernatural feel. At night, as the musicians played on, some onlookers swore they saw dark, shadowy figures moving among the dancers' silhouettes that didn't belong to any human form. Others claimed they could hear faint, eerie whispering underneath the frantic music, a language no one could understand. A few even reported seeing strange figures perched on the rooftops, swaying slowly in rhythm with the chaos below, as if they were the conductors of this grotesque orchestra. The church declared it a divine curse, a punishment from God. Some whispered it was the work of demons, possessing the townsfolk one by one. But the few dancers who managed to survive, who had brief moments of clarity before being pulled back into the madness, they told a different story. They said it didn't feel like dancing at all. It felt like they were being dragged, pulled, and controlled by something ancient and powerful, something that had been slumbering beneath the town for centuries. Their final, terrifying testimonies all echoed the same sentiment. It didn't want our bodies. It wanted our fear. Then, just as suddenly and mysteriously as it had begun, it stopped. One day, the music fell silent, the last dancer collapsed, and an eerie quiet fell over Strasbourg. There was no cure, no grand explanation. The plague was simply gone. Hundreds were dead. The town was left scarred and terrified with no answers. For centuries, the dancing plague of 1518 was considered a bizarre, isolated historical event. Modern science often dismisses it as a case of mass psychogenic illness or mass hysteria triggered by the extreme stress and famine of the era. But here's the unsettling part. If you dig through historical archives, you'll find scattered reports from different centuries and different parts of the world. Small, contained outbreaks of the same phenomenon. A handful of people suddenly starting to dance uncontrollably, screaming that they can't stop, just before collapsing. So, was it just a one-time fluke of mass psychology? Or is the entity that tormented Strasbourg still out there, waiting patiently, watching carefully until it finds the right time and the right crowd to start the music again? Next time you feel your foot tapping to a rhythm only you can hear, or find your body swaying for no reason at all, just pray it's a catchy song stuck in your head and not the faint, distant echo of the dancing plague. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating and creepy as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more dives into the unexplained corners of history. See you next time.